Well, welcome everyone to the next episode of the It's Settled podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Mills, and I'm joined today with my colleague, Robin Pirot, who's on our special programs team. And Robin had asked us to speak with some people that she's known for a couple years now. And we're so excited to have some special guests on our podcast today. So normally we speak to folks who have been injured in the workers' comp space or come from the workers' comp or insurance area. This episode's a little bit different. We're going to hear from a mother-daughter duo about overcoming a life-changing injury and how they have overcome that and worked together to give back to the community, as well as having a very wonderful, inspiring athlete on our hands. So wanted to introduce Samantha and Katie Eddington. Hello and welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Oh, hello.
Thank you so much. So, Robin, do you want to give a little background on how you know Samantha and Katie and how you got to know them over the years?
Yeah. About 5 years ago, I was lucky enough to be chosen to run for, they're called 50 Legs. They raise funds for amputees. And that year, Samantha and Katie were part of that, and they continue to be. And just watching the two of them is so inspiring for me and everybody else that was around them. As a kid, what she overcame and doesn't even act like it's a big deal for her. It seems like she's just been able to roll right through that, and she's super positive and driven. And her mother see her on Facebook, and she's funny, and she, likes to highlight the funny little things that happen in their life. And I just thought everything about the two of them would be great for our member base and anybody else who might be listening it's super inspirational, the two of them.
So, Samantha, I don't know if you want to take this or if Katie, you want to take it, but could you share a little bit about how Katie was injured and kind of what happened, immediately after that?
Yeah. So Katie's injury, she was 4 years old in 2013, and she was accidentally backed over by a riding lawnmower. We did limb salvage for 2 years. So we tried to keep her leg from 2013 to 2015 and went through 22 surgical procedures. The 22nd surgery was an elective amputation just at her right knee. So she doesn't have her right knee. She functioned okay during those 2 years, but it just wasn't a great quality of life. And so I'm a nurse by trade and could just really see that in all probability, her quality of life was just going to be much better as an amputee. So I had to travel several times to convince somebody to amputate her leg. And they did in December of 2015.
And then after, you made that decision for the amputation, kind of what was your outlook or next steps after that? Like how long after the surgery do you start looking for prosthetics and things like that?
So I had researched quite a bit during that 2-year time frame about just prosthetics and stuff. And so we live in Kentucky, and I had went to a lot of local places here and just wasn't finding anything that that just was just going to be the best situation. And granted, even though I was a nurse, I still didn't really know much about a prosthetic. But I could go into these offices and see that there was not a lot of children there. It was adults with diabetes and peripheral vascular disease or traumas or stuff like that. And a kid with a prosthetic is a lot different than an adult with a prosthetic in every sense of the word. And so a lady reached out to me that lived in Orlando, Florida, and said, I've heard about your daughter, that you're doing an elective amputation, and you've got to bring her here to get her fit. And I just really thought that was a horrible idea. During those 2 years, we were in and out of doctor's offices every single week, sometimes 3 days a week, just because she had a brace on. She had a lot of skin issues. And so the thoughts of having her prosthetic made in Florida was just nowhere. But when we got closer to time, I realized that I just didn't see anything here that I thought was going to be the very best. And by the time she was amputated, she was 6. And so then it was time to like think about playing sports or whatever she was going to do. So I traveled to Florida actually before her amputation, the month before, and looked at their facility, and it was great. I mean, the facility was phenomenal, but honestly, it was so phenomenal that I didn't think there was any way that was real. They were just so upbeat and so happy, and they were like, she's going to be great. She's going to do awesome. And I honestly almost didn't go back because they were so over the top with how confident they were and what they could provide and everything else. And they told me during that visit, they said, you need to reach out to 50 Legs for financial assistance. I did not reach out to 50 Legs initially because we had health insurance, and I just didn't feel like that was something that was necessary. I was like, I'll just figure this out. So after her amputation, I thought about it and I thought, well, what the heck? We'll give them a try. If it doesn't work out, then we'll just find somebody here. So we went down there, and the founder of 50 Legs came and met us, and we still had not applied for 50 Legs. I just wasn't going to do that. And when he came, and then the owner of the facility, he was like, you don't understand. She's a child, and she's going to grow. And so a lot of insurance companies will just pay like for one leg a year or one leg every 3 years. And she needs like at least 2 a year. So you're not going to be able to keep this up. You're not going to be able to keep her in the very best of the best unless you at least let the charity pay for your travel or your hotel or whatever. And so that's how we got connected with 50 Legs initially, was really they just paid for like our flight and hotel, just so that we would continue to go to a place that it was really top notch. I mean, that's the only place we've ever been. So that's how, we kind of got, her prosthetic. She never really, a lot of people, you hear like horror stories of how horribly fitting their leg was, and they had all these skin issues, or they didn't wear their leg for days. And she never had that experience. So that's how we ended up, with 50 Legs initially, and how she ended up with her first prosthetic.
Katie, do you remember much about the accident?
No, honestly, not really. I remember like going to like the hospital and stuff, like some of the sounds and stuff is like a little like triggering, I guess. But like about the actual accident, no.
No. And then around the time of the amputation, do you remember any of that? Anything like, do you remember anything?
I remember we had this little Chick-fil-A night the night before my surgery, because like our town is relatively small, so like everybody kind of knew about my accident, and they had this like whole little Katie bug little thing for Chick-fil-A. It was like December 1st, the day before my amputation.
They had everything, like the school all wore pajamas, and the Chick-fil-A cow came over.
I had a day, like
yeah. It is in comparison to where you are, it is a small town, and they really went. There was an apple orchard that had a fundraiser for her. It was like a whole big thing, and she really was a really sweet.
Why are you saying was?
She was a really sweet little girl. She truly was. And even
you don't have to put emphasis on the was. She really was. Really sweet.
Well, she was in those 2 years when it was such a bad time. She still was just such a sweet little girl. And so everybody they really were like during that time frame. And then after her amputation, it was just crazy. She just blew up, and it was just because she was just the sweetest. She was just the sweetest little girl. She just had so much energy. And like, I remember the first time she went to an amputation, she got her first prosthetic in January of 2016, just 5 weeks after her amputation, which was kind of unheard of. And in May of that same year, she got a running blade. And she was 7 by then. She got her first running blade. And then by September, she ran her first 5K. And so and she was never a runner. So it was just the craziest thing that she started running. And people would just be like, is that little girl that just bounces and runs everywhere? Is that her? She never stopped. She never stopped running, and she never stopped bouncing. The running blade was a huge deal. as far as the charity went, because no insurance company covers a running blade. It's not a medical necessity. So for her, the running blade was just so life-changing. That was the biggest deal for her. And she got a running blade the first year she was an amputee, and she ran a lot. I mean, she ran like over 35 Ks. She was just continually running, and everybody just loved her. Like, every time I turned around, somebody, like, she was in People magazine, she was on CNN, and none of those things, like, I didn't reach out to none of those people. They would just call me and want to interview her because she was just she had so much energy. It was just so sweet. And all she wanted to do was bounce on that running blade and run. I mean, just continually running.
So Katie, how does that even happen? Because from what I understand, I mean, you were so little. It's not like you were a runner when you were 4. What happened? So your leg is amputated, and then you decide you're gonna what?
So, I don't really know. Everything honestly moved really fast.
Yeah.
Like right after my amputation, I don't know what it was. It was like this whole big deal. Like I was not supposed to get up for a couple days, and I was like hopping or something, and that was like a big deal.
She just never sat still.
There was like something the doctors were like, I don't know what it was.
When they told you not to put weight on your leg?
Yeah, for like 5 days or something, or like 2 weeks. No, and I did it within 5 days or something.
No, we were in the hospital the day they amputated her leg. The doctor came in and he was like, whatever you do, don't put any weight on your right leg. Well, she didn't even have a right leg. And she looked at him and she said, good call, dude. And I was like, this is going to be a mess. But she just, being amputated really never did, it never did bother her like that. I remember her first running camp was in that first summer when she got the blade.
Let me tell it.
Oh, go ahead.
Jeez Louise. So my first running camp is called Knowability. Oh my gosh, I'm so disappointed that I just forgot that. So it's called Knowability, and it's kind of like a trial run. There was a bunch of kids. It goes up to like a certain age. And it's like a real like kind of trial, like you do this for a couple days and this for a couple days, and like you like swap them out. So I was into basketball for a long time, and I did that. And then one of my favorite coaches, he wanted me to do track. And I don't even know why, but I had so much energy that I just did it anyway. So it's not like I was fast or anything. I just had so much energy, and I wouldn't stop jumping. Nobody knew what to do with me. So they were like, let's just make her run. I mean, that'll have to do something. Let's just make her run. So they made me run, and I was like, dang, I kind of like this. Yeah. So then I stuck with that, and we went there like, I don't know how long we went there, but we went there like
3 or 4 years,
3 or 4 years. Oh, I don't know why I said it like that. 3 or 4 years. And I always kind of stick to running. I did basketball, but then I went full on to running. So that was the summer before my 5K. And after that 5K, I'm not the biggest distance person. I don't know. I just don't have a lot of endurance. Or I don't know if that's the right word for it.
An above the knee amputee exerts.
Oh my goodness.
They exert 60% more energy than someone with a leg. So like a below the knee is like 40%, and above the knee it's 60% more. So she did run 5K, and she did run 10K, but that's actually without having a knee. That is a lot of. That's a lot. It's a lot of energy to be exerted. So she did 5Ks for a while, but then after that she turned to sprinting, and that's when she really. But she's right. I'm glad she remembers that time frame, because after she started running, everything became so fast. I mean, it was just a continual series of people with all eyes on her. I mean, it was literally just, I mean, I don't know how to explain it. And we were just normal people. We live, in central Kentucky, but she had so much energy, and she was really cute. And when people would interview her, about things, she's just like, I just want to run. And I was just like, you sound like Forrest Gump. But everybody was just so drawn to her. And I don't know. It was a crazy time. I mean, we're slower now than we were then, and we're still not slow. But those first few years, it was very fast paced, and what to even, that's for me, that was one of the hardest times, because I didn't want to be, I mean, I didn't really want to be in the spotlight like that. I did for her running, but it was years before her accident wasn't the forefront of every conversation. Now it really isn't. And I don't mind talking about it now, but at the time it was just talk about the tragedy and the triumph, continually. And it was like every single weekend, because we literally, she ran almost every single weekend. So for me it was, but I knew this was what was best for her, because it just, I've never seen anybody that was meant to do something like she was meant to run. It just, it was her whole identity. And so, you had to do it.
And Katie, you're fast now, because did I just hear you qualified for the Paralympics?
So it was kind of a little harder than we thought it would be. So technically I did qualify for trials, but like not.
She's talking about the thing that you just got for the All-Star. The high school All-Star thing.
I know nothing about that.
So this was like a high school All-Star thing for, that's what I was saying, for the Paralympics. So she, we didn't even go to the trials this year. She could have went to the trials, but she really, even though she doesn't want to admit it, she needs a second event. You look more attractive if you have more than one event. And so for her to actually go to the trials, she needs to pick up the long jump or something like that. So like her times were great to go to the trials. But she would not have been chosen for the team, because she really, they want to take somebody that does like 2 events or 3 events. So she's got from now until 2028 to pick up, probably the long jump.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, she had a good season. Yeah.
And so Katie, do you think like the running is kind of what helped you get through all of this?
Yeah, honestly, I would say so, because the first like round of, they're called Endeavor Games, is what we went to. And it is very, I'm not going to say family oriented, because like the workers and people there, they're not family, but like it's almost like they are. Like everybody there was super like supportive of everything I was doing. And I was like, I don't even know how old I was, but anything I did, they were supportive of. And like we would have dinners, and I met a couple 50 Legs kids there. And it was all just very like, I don't know. It was like very comforting to have that whenever like everybody was going through a hard time. And like everybody there had been through something traumatic.
Yeah.
And even if it's like you were born with it, it's still a big part of your life. So like being there and feeling almost normal, like you're not the only person trying to get through it, it was like really comforting for me.
Yeah. The summer of COVID, they didn't have competitions, because of COVID. And that school year in middle school was like one of the worst years that she had. It seemed like she regressed. She was just more depressed. She was like dressing in like sweatpants all the time. And it really didn't even dawn on me until the next summer when she got to go compete again. It's like you go a whole year and you don't see anybody that looks like you. And so as soon as we went back to those events again, and she's around all these people of all different, and these competitions they're competitions. It's not like, there are a lot of things that you can do as an amputee, like for socialization and stuff like that. But this is actually camps for athletes, for people that are aspiring to go to the Paralympics. So it was all people that wanted to do exactly what she wanted to do. And there were, you can qualify for the Paralympics too. So there were adults there that would come just to get their times. And so you would meet all kinds of cool people. But that summer really made me realize how it would be if you went year round and, didn't see anybody that looked like you. And I think people underestimate that. I mean, it'd be like if you went to the gym, Robin, every day for a year and there was only men in there. And then 1 day a year or 2 days a year, there were women. That would be a pretty big deal. And I really underestimated that, because I'm always like pumping her up, like, well, you're fine. Everything's good. You don't have a disability, but it's not even about that. It's about you can't not be able to relate to somebody. And she has a lot of friendships of, girls younger than her and older than her that she texts all the time and just talks about different issues that they've had or whatever. But that was really important to me, as far as when I got more involved with the charity, to be able to provide those experiences for other kids that couldn't afford to travel like that. Because I saw that summer how big of an effect it had for her to not be able to ever see anybody look like her.
Right. Something you wouldn't even have thought of, probably. So my next question, Katie, is what would you like? If another kid going through something challenging and they feel like they're stuck and they don't have the same attitude that you do, because you seem like you have a pretty positive attitude. Like that's kind of what I was saying earlier. It doesn't seem like it's held you back at all. What advice would you give to somebody who doesn't feel the same way that you do, or wasn't able to kind of just take off and do something with all that energy?
Honestly, middle school was like the worst. That sounds so stupid, but it was probably the worst like mental time of my life, and I lost a whole leg. But just like people are really mean. Any age, they're really mean. Just anybody really. But like the only thing I could say is just to get through it. That's all you can do. You can't blame it on anybody. You can't just like I've come to a realization that I'm not going to change. Like my leg's not going to grow back. There's nothing stopping me from just embracing who I am and just going with it. That's what I do at this point. Because like in middle school, I still don't wear shorts to school, but I wouldn't wear like ripped jeans or anything like that. Or I wear very baggy jeans even now, just so like nothing tugs or you can't see my ankle or anything like that. Because high school is hard anyway. But just be as true to yourself as you can be. That's the only thing I could say.
That's a great answer.
Oh, that sounds so stupid. That's okay.
It doesn't. So as her mom, how did that affect you? Like, how was that?
I'll cry.
She said I wasn't allowed to cry. It was really hard. It was just middle school was a really hard time, but there was just there was just nothing you could do about it other than just keep, reminding her of how many amazing people she's met because of being an amputee and how much traveling she gets to do. But, at the end of the day, I mean, especially in middle school, because it sucks so bad. I remember middle school and like, I didn't want to go to school if my hair didn't look good that day or if my face was broken out. And it finally, I was just continually trying to just say all the good mom things. And it really did just hit me one day. Like, you didn't want to go to school when this was happening. And she had came in the bathroom with me and I was going through all the things of how, grateful she should be or whatever. And she's like, Mom, I don't have a leg. And I was just like, I mean, you don't, and so I can't discount her feelings. But I did some because and honestly, it was probably for selfish reasons. I didn't want to go there. I was afraid if I went there, I'd never come back because you can't fix that. What you can do is the only thing you have control over, and I've said this a million times, is how you react to it. So we're either going to lay in the fetal position or we're going to figure out how to be the best freaking amputee there is. And I really do think that she's done that. I mean, overall, in comparison to other amputees, she really has, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't, some hard times, especially middle school. And every now and then there is now, but really not at all like middle school was. For a parent, that'd be the only advice I can give is you have to understand you cannot discount that feeling. Now you can own it for a little bit and then encourage them to move on. But that's a real feeling. That's a valid feeling that they're having. And I didn't mean to discount it. I just didn't want her to feel something. I couldn't fix that. If you fall out with one of your friends, you can kind of say all the things and try to rectify that. This was not reversible. And so I think it's okay to validate that now, but it took me a minute because I didn't want to validate it. It was too hurtful for me to validate.
Well, I mean, I have a middle schooler. I think middle school is just generally very, very hard.
Yes.
All the body parts are not. It's just really, really hard.
Yes.
So I empathize with you as a mom, and I also empathize, Katie, with you and having gone through middle school myself. It's just such a traumatic part of your life. And, I feel like high school gets a little bit better, but it's still really rough out there,
High school's better.
And to throw COVID in the middle of all that is definitely
yes.
a lot.
Yeah. Like, I don't even know that she went to school her whole 6th grade year. Almost not.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
So what, like, short distance running is your thing? What specifically, like, what's the category?
So I do the 100 meter and the 200 meter.
Okay.
I did drop the 400 meter because I just hate it. I hate it so bad. It's just one lap around the whole track, but it's like right in between like long distance and short distance. So you have to sprint the whole thing. Oh my God. Ask any track athlete. The 400 is awful. Sorry. I just hate that of it so bad.
Yeah, I tried to make her stick with it. She wasn't having it.
And then like, the people that do like the miles on the track, I could never do that. Never in a million years. But yeah, I stick with sprints right now. I don't think I could ever do anything distance on the track. But like races and stuff, like 5Ks and 10Ks, that's a little different because like everybody else is being tortured with me, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But like everything else is what.
Nothing. I will say what's funny about that is that even when she was running 5Ks when she was little, so I would run with her because she was little, but she was still a sprinter then. So she would sprint, and I couldn't keep up with her, and then way up ahead. And when I'd be going by all these people, and they'd be like, "Did you just see that little girl just dart through here?" Because she would sprint, and then she would walk. And then so I should have known from early on she was going to be a sprinter because she would sprint, and then she would walk and let me catch up. But there was no catching her. When she was sprinting, she would spring off that blade, but now that I think about it, you were a sprinter from the get-go.
And 5Ks, like it was always the start, so I would like it's literally a maze, and she would just have to dart, and I was so small that I could dart, like I wouldn't even touch them.
Yeah, she could weave in and out of all these people, and it was just funny listening to them because they didn't know I was with her. They were like, "Did you see her? Did you see that kid coming through here with that leg?" And I was like, "She's mine. Which way did she go?"
Well, I'm excited to see what other track and field items you pick up as you get into qualifying.
She's heard her too.
Me too.
Yeah, the long jump. Yeah.
What's that thing where you like spin around and then throw a ball?
Oh my goodness, I could never do. What is that?
It's javelin.
I don't know. There's a million of those she could do. Like you, and I'm like, you got both your arms. Do one of those.
I think
it's shot put, but she could do javelin.
Nope.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
It's track and field, so you can do a field event. She only wants to do track. I tried to get her to be a swimmer.
Swimming is awful.
I thought swimming would be so fun.
Like the Olympic or like anything, honestly. It's so cold. Oh my goodness. Oh, I can never
pick up swimming.
It is cold. Yeah. Well, Samantha, I know you mentioned you were a nurse by background. How did you kind of think about the surgeries and moving forward? Obviously, you are probably far more educated than someone else. This might have happened to their family member, so you probably have a different thought process towards it. But kind of where did that leave you from a nursing perspective? And are you still bedside today, or what nursing practice are you in right now?
No. So I went on and got my nurse practitioner after that. Right now I teach at a university, and then I'm a medical director at a med spa. So it was really, it's a little more confusing than you think because you're medical and you can understand everything they're talking about, but it was really hard to connect and make me understand that they're talking about my child. The verbiage made sense, but it was real hard to connect that they were talking about her during that time frame, especially in the beginning, because they involved us in everything. And she was originally taken to the hospital where I was working at the time. And so everybody knew who I was. Like I said, we're in central Kentucky, so everybody knew me. And there'd been a trauma red came in for an employee, and the little girl had been ran over by a lawnmower. So, I mean, you're talking about news travels fast. And they were so good to us there. But it was really just hard to relate to. You know, at nighttime when things would settle down, I could kind of process a little bit better, but it was really hard. It's a trauma like that. If you've never been through it, is very confusing. So like when you take your kid to the doctor because their throat is sore, they diagnose them with strep throat and they give them medication and they go home. And a trauma's not like that. Like there's a million different things that have to work for everything to work. And you are part of a lot of the decisions. And that's a lot. That's a lot to take in as far as that goes. But, you know, as a rule, physicians want to save, they want to salvage. And so that's what we did. You know, really nobody really ever asked me if I wanted to amputate. That I would ask them, you know, do you think she'd be better off amputated? And they're like, no, we're going to keep on trying. But after 2 years, enough was enough. We took her a bunch of places. We'd taken her to Boston twice, I think. Really great team of physicians up there. And they were getting ready to start implementing all the things. She needed a bunch of stuff done, limb lengthening. She needed new skin, like all kinds of things. So they would always have all the physicians in one conference room and go over all the things with us. It was a great experience. But I remember they brought in a physician that was a little bit older. He was like 65-ish or something. And he was like, do you not have a team there that can take care of her? And I'm like, nope, I will move here. I can stay here till this is done. You know, it'll be fine. I've got friends in the area. It's all good. And I said, but, you know, do you not want to take care of her? And he said, well, I don't like to start something that I can't finish. He said, and I won't live that long. And I knew right then what he meant. He meant, so she was 6 at the time. And he meant, you're going to be doing this for the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And everything had to, you know, a surgery had to happen and that had to be perfect to move on to the next, And so he said exactly what I needed to hear. And so we left there and that was it. It was over. And and I didn't ask any more questions to anybody because I wasn't going to do, you know, I still had a really happy little girl. Mm-hmm. And if she was a patient for the next 10 years, I was going to lose more than a leg. I was going to lose her whole spirit. And that was just not something I was willing to risk. So that was in July. And I scheduled her amputation for December of that year. And it was done. It was over.
Yeah. So I mean, thank you so much for sharing all of this, both of you. I just want to take a moment of gratitude because it means a lot to me that you're sharing it, but also just, you know, Katie, your resilience, and even Samantha, your resilience as a mom here. Just amazing. So moment of thanks.
Thank you. We've been a pretty good team.
Yeah. And then just to switch gears a little bit, I know that you guys are about giving back and
yes.
are there charities or, you know, other things that you're passionate about where you give that back?
Okay. So we did this thing. My accident was October 13th, 2013, right? Okay. Yeah. So every year on that date, it's like really kind of weird, I guess you could kind of say. And it's kind of just like, I guess kind of depressing. So
it's a little depressing.
I don't even know how to say it.
It's depressing.
Like, we would do, I don't even know how we thought of it, but we were just like, let's like just do something to make us, I guess, feel better about ourselves. But then it made like other people.
I felt like when we did something for somebody else, it took the focus off of us, and then we weren't as sad. So we would always do something to give back, and then we'd go shopping.
Yep, we would do something to give back. Every year it was different until like these couple years. But we sent like the little fruit basket thingies to my amputation place, or to the facility, not my amputation place.
We've taken food and toy. We did a toy drive. We've taken food to the different hospitals she was at. We've went back to the ICUs. We've sent food to the prosthetic place. The last 2 years, and that's probably what we'll stick with because
and now we do a blood drive.
We do a blood drive every year, and that's been like they made her an ambassador. They made commercials for Central Kentucky Blood Center. That's been really, really nice because they do so much of it. And so we've already got it scheduled for next year. So they come up here to our county. They actually do it at the courthouse. They close down like half of the courthouse and set up a pretty decent size blood drive. And so since everybody still knows who Katie is.
Why are you saying it like that?
Because they remember you being cute. The last 2 years around the date of her accident, we have had a blood drive, and that's been really great. So I'm real happy about being affiliated with them because she received a ton of blood products during that time frame. And then, of course, we're also I'm on the board of directors of 50 Legs now. So that kind of came full circle from being a recipient. So she's my nana is. And my mother works for 50 Legs.
So everybody
does something for the charity. So we're not really a recipient anymore. We just go to a lot of the larger events, and we volunteer a lot of time for 50 Legs. But they really, they've wanted to hire me like several times as a director and pay me. And I was like, this is just not that kind of a thing. I don't think when somebody helps you when you're at rock bottom, I just think that lasts forever. So it was a big deal what they did for us. Just guiding us to what we needed to be doing and getting us involved in all the things. And, I didn't ask for her first running blade. I would have never asked for that. Because she was so small, and I inquired about what it was because I would stay online all the time looking to see if she was functioning well. Like I was trying to compare to other kids, make sure she was walking okay. And I saw a kid, a boy, he was playing basketball, and he had this little curved foot on the end of his blade. And I really didn't even know what it was. And I remember being there and asking her prosthetist. I asked Ricky, I was like, I saw this kid running, and he had this little blade. I said, is that even anything that, in the future she would, be able to get? Like, how do you, it's just because all the legs look different. So I was like, is this even anything that she's capable of? And he was like, 50 Legs will get you one now. And he said it with that much confidence. I'll never forget him saying that. He didn't have to ask anybody. We're already there, and it was a done deal. And I was like, oh no, I'm not asking for that. Like, we can save up the money. It's not like a thing. He's like, no, you're already here. We'll go ahead and get you one. And that was in May. I remember exactly when it was. It was in May of 2016. And by September, she had ran her first 5K. It was just crazy life-changing. And it was years later, actually during COVID, that the charity started to not do well because of COVID. They lost all their employees because they couldn't pay them. And I was furloughed. And I was like, well, I can do these things for free because I'm not working right now anyway. So let me help you set up like hotels and travel. And then I just kind of realized that was a good way for me to be able to give back. And then as time went on, I realized they didn't have a medical person on their board. And I said, I really think you could benefit. Like, I think I could, I did. I asked them, I said, I think I could help you. Like, I think I could help you determine like what these people need, and I could help you save money and, talk to their insurance companies and everything else. And so I actually asked after, 6 months or so, if I could be on the board. And of course they were like, oh yeah, that'd be great. And then I worked so much that my mom said, yeah, you're going to have to slow down. So I hired her part-time. Yeah. She goes everywhere we go because she's afraid I was going to kill myself. But it's just there's just a feeling that you get when somebody unexpectedly helps your child that's just unexplainable. All the physicians that we went through those first few years were great. They were fine, but the conversation was always so similar. It was like, this is such an unfortunate accident. You're lucky that she's alive. And I didn't feel that. I did not feel lucky at all. Like, my neighbor don't have to be lucky that their daughter's alive. Why do I got to feel lucky? I don't want to feel lucky. I want her to be able to, I want her to be able to run. I don't want her to be lucky. So I didn't feel grateful for quite some time. And I remember the moment that she walked for the first time. And everything changed because there was somebody there that I could trust. Like, they were going to help me do something that I couldn't do by myself. And so the prosthetic place she went and the charity, just, I can't explain what they did for her, much less for me. They done as much for me, as they did for her. So
I actually remember a funny story about that.
So I'll tell you this. So when we
No, let me tell them.
You don't remember?
Yes, I do.
What?
The thing about okay, so we had gotten down there on maybe a Thursday.
Sunday.
A Sunday.
Yeah.
And she was just in a bad mood.
I was in
She
a bad
just
mood. I was bitter.
hated everybody.
I did.
And we had got there and they were so nice. So overwhelmingly nice.
Yes.
So the owner was just like, when do you want her to walk by? And she was just like, I want her to walk by Tuesday. So it was my birthday.
Yeah.
I want her to walk by her birthday.
I said, I want her to walk by her 7th birthday. And he's like, when is that? I said, it's in 2 days. I was really hateful and
then
bitter.
I was walking in 2 days.
And in 2 days, yeah. But he
was so bad. He was so sweet.
He was a super nice guy. But when he asked me what my expectations were, it sent me over the top because I'd heard that from all these other physicians. Like, what are your expectations? And I was like, you've got to be kidding me right now. What do you mean? What are my expectations? I literally had to carry her. She had no leg. I carried this little tiny girl down here because you said she was going to be amazing. And now you're asking me what my expectations are. And so I was.
You're so mean.
I was. And I said, I want her to walk by her 7th birthday.
No, but you said, I want her to walk by her 7th birthday.
I did. I said it just like that. And he was like, when is that? I said, it's in 2 days. And in 2 days, I think they worked around the clock. And they came out and they handed her this leg.
It had Shopkins on it.
It had little Shopkins on it.
You can put like a fabric. You can choose a little fabric. And I had it was a Shopkin socket. And my leg was swelling. So I had a little door on it so that if it swelled, you could just open that up and it would stop swelling.
But he gave her her leg and she put it on and he was like, we have you a birthday cake.
No. They told me to walk into this little tiny room and it was dark and I was the cutest little thing.
See, you were.
Yeah, I was the cutest little thing. They all had their little cameras and I was like just honestly wobbling. I didn't know how to walk. I was wobbling and I had this little, I think it was like a Matilda Jane dress on or something.
Probably.
From those little shops you always dress me in.
Right.
And
you were cute.
I wobbled in there and I had a big pink bow on the back of my head so that's all these people could see. And it was a little fairy cake and it had all these candles. So as soon as I walked in there, my face lit up. And I was just the cutest little thing.
You were.
Yep. And it had a little fairy on it and I took it home.
But he put her leg on and he said, Katie, we have you a cake in the break room. He said, show your mom that you can walk. And I lost my mind. I did. I lost it.
Stop crying.
I did. I'll never forget that. And I did years later. I mean, it was years later, probably 5 years later before I really was mentally capable of, working with the charity and stuff. And I remember I'll bottle that feeling up forever. I'll never forget how that felt. And I thought, I want to help somebody get that feeling 1,000,000 times in my life. I mean, it was like, how it was to see your kid walk. You can't imagine what it is to see them walk when you didn't know if they were going to walk again. It was crazy. And somebody helped me do that because I didn't know how to do that. So yeah, I was very grateful. You're so mean to me. She's like, whatever you do.
It sounds like you needed that emotional support there. What you guys are great. What do you hope that when people hear this story, like what do you hope they take away from it?
Whenever, I don't know, I hope a little girl maybe that's going through a hard time because it took me a while to not have a hard time every single day until I finally found somebody that understood what I was going through. I just hope they understand it's a really, really lonely feeling. And that's hard to have when you're so young. Like, it's really hard to be lonely when you're so young. You have all your family, and it was just a lonely feeling that it wasn't like being lonely. It was just alone. So I felt alone for all those years, and I had finally reached out. And I had a million other amputees around me, but they were always, extremely younger than me, and I had to be their kind of support person, or I had a support person, that was way older than me. I never had someone my age, the same grade as me, so I found this girl. And she helped me in so many ways. She was on the softball team, and I was on the volleyball team at the time, and we were just going through things like, oh my gosh, should we maybe wear shorts tomorrow? Maybe we should match outfits and, kind of see how the day goes. And it was just an indescribable feeling of comfort that I never thought I would get from anybody. So I just hope any amputee can always find their person, that it's not like their person like that. It's like their unconditional best friend, in a way of tied together. So, yeah, she's really important to me. But, yeah, I hope they can take that, and it's comforting that maybe they'll find somebody, because they will. There's a lot of amputees, but not really a lot. So, yeah, that was a lot. Sorry.
That was perfect. That's a perfect answer.
Good enough.
Samantha, is there like anything like final advice or anything that you would
Don't
want to
talk for an hour now.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things really. This was like, it's just a whole process. And I've been really lucky to be able to help several people through this process. And I mean, even several moms that their kids have been in a lawn mowing accident, which is actually one of the hardest things for me to do, because it takes me back. Whether you like it or not, it takes you back. And, what I always tell them is, if you do the things you're supposed to do, you will not always feel this way. I promise you, this feeling will go away as long as you don't do something stupid. You know what I mean? I mean, like, get up every day and take a shower and make sure your kids are doing all the things. But if you just keep moving through the process, this horrible feeling that you have right now will go away. It does. And I think that's a real hard thing to understand when you're in the thick of it. But it was the most miserable feeling to see your child get injured and really just not know how to fix it. And then when they get in school, I think you have to, especially, I have an older son. And so the things that I went through with him, I assume would be the same things when you have another kid go through. And it was not at all the same. And so I had to give myself a lot of grace and just realize that bad things do happen. They just do. And they can happen when you least expect it. And so there are things in life that you can control and things you can't control. And when you're in a position of a day that you can control, I really try to embrace that day. I really do. That's probably one of the upsides, but it's also one of the downsides, is because I don't look ahead very far anymore. But at the same time, when I talk about seizing the day, I do. Like, I really do appreciate the day. And if it's a good day, and most days are good, but I'll never forget losing the stability of just this unknown situation. But I think you really have to show up every day. And if it's your kid, it's different when you're the adult that's an amputee versus the parent. There's no time for you to lay down. That's just not an option. But I mean, I think overall we handled it, pretty well. But it was a lot of work.
We cannot wait to see you in the Paralympics. We're so excited to continue to follow your path and your career there. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you, Robin, for bringing Samantha and Katie to us and for having this discussion with us today. It was really meaningful to me, and I hope our listeners love it as well. But much gratitude and thank you to both of you.
Thank you for having us. It was a delight.
Thank you so much. Such an inspiration.
Yeah. We've done a couple of podcasts over the year, and it is really kind of interesting to see how her perspective changes as she gets older. It's really nice. It makes me think I didn't screw up.
Oh, all right.
No. I don't think you screwed up at all.
Not at all.
So.
All right. That's all I know.
Yeah, that's all you know.
Thank you both so much.
Well, thank you. It was good to see you, Robin.
Good to see you.